What a week for this franchise. Welcome into the PHNX Cardinals podcast, presented to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook. Like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Johnny Venerable, Bull Brock, the great Frank Sanders in camo. Maybe the Cardinals should rock a little camo these days to hide from everything. Quick show note at the top. Isaiah Simmons, linebacker, was supposed to join us. Bull Brock, unfortunately, had to cancel.
Yeah, his group got out to us right before we were going to do an interview with him, and unfortunately, due to scheduling conflicts, we will not be talking to the Cardinals star backer, unfortunately, and maybe recap some of this tumultuous season, go through a season where, personally, Isaiah Simmons is having actually a pretty good year after a rough start. It's just, it's brutal. We wanted to talk to Isaiah just as much as you guys wanted to hear from him.
We might still get him on at some point.
But I'm not going to hold my breath on that. It was, I'm not going to take you guys too much behind the scenes, but they apologized to us. But unfortunately, no Isaiah today. With that, hey, another big storyline for this and headline for this Arizona Cardinals organization that seems to outpace itself in the bad headline department there, Johnny.
Yeah, if you're on the Twitter streets this morning, casually scrolling, it didn't come from any local beat. But this came from Brett McMurphy, the tweet of the day here in the Valley. Brett McMurphy, again, no affiliation to the Arizona Cardinals or the landscape of the desert media, but he did post this. This comes from what does that say? PNWestwire.com.
Mm-hmm.
Former Arizona Cardinals assistant and UTEP coach Sean Kugler filed arbitration with the NFL after he was mysteriously dismissed from his job on same day of Kugler's filing. Cards GM Steve Keim took indefinite leave of absence and was the identity mistaken in Mexico City, as I butchered that read. But
yeah, I have no idea what's going on.
Here's the breakdown. Well, first of all, I'm trying to read it. I don't have my contacts in. Basically, Brent puts out that tweet and it says, hey, Sean Kugler basically says, all this is garbage. I'm filing a grievance against the NFL and the Cardinals.
Well, I have his full statement if you want me to go through it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've got it in front of me. I don't have to squint and find it. You guys can look at it. If you're watching on YouTube,
if I had to read that, I'd
subscribe and hit the like button as well. And if you're listening on podcasts, I'm going to read it out for you. This is from a local law firm here in Phoenix. The law firm Shields and Patetti filed a request of arbitration on December 14th, 2022, citing multiple claims against the Arizona Cardinals on behalf of their former offensive line coach and run game coordinator, Sean Kugler. Kugler, who's well-respected O-line coach throughout the NFL, was sent home from Mexico City on November 21st prior to the Cardinals' Monday night game against the Niners for unsubstantiated allegations that he inappropriately touched a female security guard. The allegations against Kugler are simply untrue and have caused Sean, his wife, and family enormous personal and professional damage, stated by his lawyers. Coach and his family have been desperate to understand from the Cardinals front office and others the rationale and evidence that was used to terminate for cause. The Cardinals dismissed Kugler from the organization without conducting a thorough investigation or interviewing him. Here's the final quote of this. Respecting women is core value. For me, from Kugler, something I've instilled in my children and players that I coach. The mysterious allegations by the Cardinals are untrue, and I want to clear my name, but it is a miscommunication or mistaken identity. My family and I will cooperate fully and honestly with the NFL, Cardinals, or any other agency to get the truth of this matter to restore my reputation. There are incredible people that work in this game, from the league levels to my players, fellow coaches, and incredible support staff. I simply want to get back to doing what I love and would love my family to have peace. That's from Kugler. Now, go back to this tweet from McMurphy.
Because that's where this is.
Yeah,
that's where the media is.
This is where this thing is really kind of taken off because the insinuation, Leah, who's running the show behind the scenes, our producer today, the Brett McMurphy tweet about the filing of arbitration to the NFL, it has Kugler, and it also has that it was on the same day as Steve Keim, but also you have the mistaken identity part and the insinuation that was Steve Keim the person.
Yeah.
Was he part of this mistaken identity? And I think that's incredibly irresponsible. And I think a lot of people will agree with me as far as that.
Okay, so a couple things, Frank Sanders. Brett McMurphy has not responded to any inquiries about this below the tweets. But I don't know how you could put that together and not know that you're insinuating. Now, we're not coming out and saying this, but insinuating on Brett McMurphy's part that it was Steve Keim, not Sean Kugler, who groped the woman. Again, I don't know how you put that tweet together and not think that. That's what I thought when I looked at this. I'm like, this is clearly Brett McMurphy saying that mistaken identity. We're putting these two photos together. This looks like the same person, right?
Well, that
Leah,
is.
can we have the tweet one more time up if we could?
I saw it, but I'm with LTC. There's a lot of margaritas flying at that time, man. Look, that is. You got two bald head white guys with a with the same Fu Manchu kind of beard going on right there a little bit. Depending on the camera angle and what's taking place that night, it's it definitely can be something to take a look at. Not from this picture, of course, but I will say this here though, man. I think this is that's a hell of a cover up though. Like a coach got.
If any of these allegations, accusations, is insinuation.
If this is true, and it was Keim that did that instead of Kugler,
and they used Kugler
as a fall guy, like that's a hell of a cover up, bro. To like really at a high level, that would be very disappointing. Not just to the
that's
to
a
the
number
fan base,
one documentary on Netflix.
Huge.
Well, Rick James
story.
in the chat says
huge.
exactly what we discussed before the show.
Wow.
You have to clean house, and like Michael Bidwell, if that's what happened, would be in serious trouble with the NFL unless he just pleaded ignorance and wasn't around.
Let me say this again. Let me say it's brutal that McMurphy did this.
Correct.
By the way,
Okay, I agree.
Regardless if he did it with the intention of it being a coincidence that it was the same day that Keim took his leave of absence and that Kugler filed for his arbitration, like to put them
Why even
in
put
a mistaken
Keim into
identity
that, though?
where Keim is a fucking Kugler doppelganger is outrageous.
Why would you put Keim in that tweet? That story
Right.
is 3 days old. Now,
Right.
we're talking about it because it's relevant, but Brett McMurphy's a national reporter. Why would he think, okay, I have this story about Sean Kugler that has really nothing to do with Steve Keim on the surface?
It's a very, very loose connecting of the dots.
And now you're saying, oh, by the way, Keim has left the team because of health concerns. And then the last sentence is a mistaken of identity, and you use those two photos, and then you're not responding, or you don't. Like, I waited all day, tweets and replies, clarification.
Right.
It didn't come, and Brett knows how to use Twitter. That it is one of the most, this team, man, unbelievable scenarios. And I don't want to overshadow the fact that Sean Kugler said, like, the Cardinals didn't do the research. They didn't talk to me. No one talked to me. And that's unfortunate, too. Like, if this is not true and Sean Kugler didn't do this, if I'm a coach, an aspiring coach, do I want to hitch my wagon to this franchise?
The question is, if he didn't do what he said to the security guard, that's one.
Mm-hmm.
Not if it was Keim or and the switcheroo.
Multiple layers to this.
Right.
So that to me becomes where you have to look at it from that perspective. Number one, Sean, are you arguing? And again, we can't say that Murphy in the article ties in that that was a mistake I did in that regards between Keim and him. That's a great play on his part to get the likes and the people looking at it, paying attention to him.
For sure.
But the idea is that Sean is arguing that, hey man, I wasn't me. What's being talked about me is absolutely wrong, and they should have camera angles on that. But the Cardinals definitively say we have enough evidence and we stand our ground on what stands for taking.
Now, this is from Ian Rappaport, who followed up this story that it was also picked up by footballscoop.com. But Ian Rappaport quote tweeted with this, a statement from the team. This is from the Cardinals, quote, as an ongoing legal matter, we are going to refrain from comment other than to say that the team is confident the process will result in a much different set of facts than presented today, that it had good cause to terminate Mr. Kugler's employment.
Jay in the chat. That's it. That's
That might be
perfect, man.
Well, we got a lot of screens. I know
We
that.
One too many screens on and off the field.
There's so many legs to this. There's so many layers to this. And, to try to avoid complete and utter irresponsible speculation.
Right.
But, I mean, look, if what's being insinuated here, if there's any truth to it, yes, absolutely. I see. Obviously, the Steve Keim tenure is done. There's no question about it.
Do you think it's regardless at this point?
I think so. I don't think there's any coming back for Steve Keim. If we stop at that Steve Keim has left this organization due to health concerns, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think when you look at his tenure and the current state of the franchise, that it's not as good as 2018, where I think that would have been the best time for a mutual parting of ways.
Yeah.
This is it. This is I don't know how many signs you need to hit you right in the face, Michael Bidwell, but this is the ultimate. Hey, it's time to part ways mutually here and use this as a reset point.
Hey, but I have to go back to like, okay, so Kugler gets fined. Kugler gets fired.
Right. Yeah.
Who fires him? Mike or?
So we don't know that.
And so that but that leads to what one of the gentlemen in our text was talking about. Mike was a former prosecutor. So you got to get down to the evidence. Right. You have to figure out what's what, and you have enough friends in high places to be able to make phone calls to get down to it. So maybe that might be the reason why he's taking such a strong stance, because of course Kugler wants his money, and if you get fired unfairly, you want your money from what's owed to you. Now I don't understand why Kugler would want to take that position if you know 100% that this is not about you. Like, I didn't do this. And I understand you're trying to say, I want to save my wife. I'm trying to save my marriage. We want to get through this. We want to get over this so I can get back to doing what I love to do. It's almost as if Kugler was blackballed. Do you think he was blackballed from the NFL? Because he's talking about getting back to coach.
It's going to be tough. You know, that's as serious as it comes. You grope a woman or a person of any kind, and it's just that's.
Well, we don't know if he groped her.
That's once it came out. Somebody got groped. And
did he push the security guard from like, what
you just said is fascinating, because like if we got Sean Kugler on the record saying like, I was with the security guard, I didn't grope her, this is what happened, that's different than I wasn't even there.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's, are we trading on that? Because if Sean Kugler is saying that's not me, I wasn't there, I was in my hotel, I was having dinner with Will Hernandez's family, I have an alibi, then it's like, oh shit, was it Steve Keim or somebody else? But if Sean Kugler comes out and says, I've been in contact with the security guard, I was there, but it wasn't me, or I bumped into her, something like that. And I'm not making excuses for Kugler. I'm just saying, like, there's a difference between, there's layers to, I was there, but it didn't go down like this, or I wasn't there at all, Bo.
Yeah. I mean, but in Kugler and his representation, his legal counsels probably had it didn't have anything to do with McMurphy's tweet in putting Keim's picture there, right? We can probably say that, right?
Yep.
I mean, because you can pretty much say any bald-headed white guy with a goatee is a suspect in this case. I mean, we could throw Goldberg in there from WWE if we wanted to. You've got a long list of bald-headed white guys.
We almost made a list
with goatees.
We decided at lunch, against our better judgment, not to do that.
Breaking Bad.
Because it's not funny to the person it happened to. But
no,
man,
it's not. Of course not. I mean,
we have so many things to talk about, so many layers to this entire thing.
Oh man.
So where do you want to pivot to? Do we want to talk about Steve Keim a little bit more? And we're reading the tea leaves, I think, a little bit,
right?
With this coaching staff,
right? I mean,
we probably should know, because I think that you don't know what Steve Keim's health issues are.
We don't.
We really don't. And I think that's you only wish the best for him in that regards. Go ahead.
Let's check cardiac cards here in the chat. The responses to Keim's leave of absence by Vance and Kliff are alarming, and we actually have video from both of those responses that I was able to get throughout this week over the Cards facility. This is Vance Joseph spoke first, so we'll go with him first. This was on Thursday. Vance Joseph was asked about Steve Keim taking his leave of absence.
I have no reaction. It's been a statement out by our team, and that's everybody's reaction to it. Obviously, Steve's a friend of mine, and I feel for Steve, and I wish him luck.
I have no reaction to it. I'm sorry if I feel like, again, if I was in that position and I knew Steve Keim was ill, like Chuck Pagano ill, or with COVID, or in the hospital, my personal reaction, Vance is different than me. I would say something to the effect of, we're going to play hard for Steve this Sunday. This game is dedicated to him. We're going to rally around him.
The Gipper. He's going the Gipper?
Right. He's a friend of mine. I'm thinking of his wife and his kids. Those were not the things that have been said.
They weren't. And it wasn't just Vance. As cardiac cards pointed back out, Kliff Kingsbury today, as press availability, was asked about the Kugler thing. He said that there was going to be a statement from the team. And then he was followed up with, what were his thoughts on Steve Keim taking his leave of absence. This is what Kliff Kingsbury had to say.
Yeah, I mean, disappointed, like I said, for him, just knowing that, as you know, the appreciation I have for him and him giving me this opportunity and the love and respect I'll always have for him. It's not easy.
Well,
Okay.
What is that response?
I'm disappointed. Man, if I got stage 2 or anything, you better not say you disappointed.
Right. If you
need
got
to say,
pneumonia,
man,
if you got anything.
hey, brother, I'm sorry to hear that. I wish.
You're showing your cards.
Man.
You're showing your cards.
Hey, look, you know what? I think that's this is going to come out, and I think I'm actually the way the coaches are answering these questions. The players in the locker room, guys, we never hear this stuff.
Yeah.
Like even when the media come up or Bo come up and say, "Hey, Frank, we just did an interview with your coach, and he said that, I wish him, I'm disappointed. What do you think about that statement? Is there more to it?" And I'd be like, man, I don't know, man. We got the Broncos on our mind. We're getting ready to play them. I'm going to get some Popeyes chicken after this, and look, I'll come back to work tomorrow and get ready for the Broncos. That's what the players are thinking right now. So the guys are thinking differently, but the way we digging this up, man. Johnny, it's becoming very, very revealing.
And listen, I want to make something abundantly clear here on PHNX Cardinals. Keim is getting help for something regardless, and we wish him well, and we want him to get help.
Correct.
But there are different kinds of help, and I'm going to tell you right now, there's kind of help that doesn't allow you to proceed as the GM of this team, and it may be potentially affecting your ability to do the job. And I'll leave it at that. But, Bo, we talk about now definitively thinking that Steve Keim is done. And I know Rap Sheet, friend of the program, who seemingly always has a tweet about the Cardinals ready to go, read that to what you will, basically said, like, if and when Keim returns, and it's very vague.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're ready to put the kibosh on that right now. I don't think any three of us feel like Keim will be back in the general manager seat ever again. At the very least, or at the very worst, maybe, he could come back as a special advisor to Michael Bidwell. But his days of picking players and adding personnel are done. Correct?
Completely agree with that. Rap Sheet's quote was, "This has been something that's been developing for weeks, months, as far as what the health issues were. And then, as you mentioned, when he comes back. But as far as what capacity he comes back, it really just doesn't feel like that general manager seat is going to be waiting for him.
No.
Right now, it's filled interim-wise by Quentin Harris and Adrian Wilson, and the organization gets a couple weeks here to kind of evaluate them, and they get to kind of put together what their resume is going to look like, what their plan for the future for the Arizona Cardinals is, and hopefully they get a fair shot at that. I think both of them are rising stars as far as that goes, but also, these guys have been working underneath Steve Keim for a while. Now, I don't buy into that they're just going to completely adopt his style, because we even saw with Steve Keim when he took over for Rod Graves, he churned this roster, right?
Yeah.
He had 90-plus players churn through this organization in just this calendar year after he took over for Graves. And we all know we all have bosses, and we see them and we see how we would do things differently. And I'm sure those guys have different approaches and philosophies that they want to see, that they think can improve this franchise. But at the same time, you want to see Michael Bidwell have a short list as well. Talk to some other names, talk to some other football minds that haven't been within the walls of this organization that can maybe help this team dig itself out of one of the most tumultuous, dysfunctional seasons. Probably, in Frank Sanders, you mentioned to me, how many 4-12 seasons did you have?
3.
How many 3-13?
1.
I mean, that's
In
4
my
seasons
8
right
years
there
with
under
the
5
Cardinals.
wins in the NFL. I mean, those are some long, futile years.
And
I've been there.
as you can see on this next graphic, it's not just about wins and losses. This franchise has been gross and embarrassing for 10 months plus. And I broke it down on Twitter today, and here you go. And I couldn't even fit everything in the tweet. Hollywood Brown's speeding arrest, not on here. The unfortunate passing of Jeff Gladney, which was not on the organization, but it happened, which was incredibly unfortunate. But look back, last February, Keim and Kliff inexplicably extended, okay? Kyler Murray scrubs his social media, asks for more money. The team goes silent. Steve Wilkes files a lawsuit against or joins a lawsuit with Brian Flores, basically against the NFL and the Arizona Cardinals for being let go after 1 year. Ray Horton, ex-Cardinal defensive coordinator, also involved in that. DeAndre Hopkins suspended for PEDs. Kyler gets extended, hooray, and then the homework clause debacle. That's one that could have 3 sub-bullets because it took over the news cycle for 7 to 10 days. Running backs coach James Saxon was charged with domestic battery, resigned, fired from the team in October. Hard Knocks drama, pulling footage. We think the Eno Benjamin situation, the fact that sometimes it looks like Hard Knocks, sometimes it looks like public access. An offensive line coach was fired, Sean Kugler, for groping a woman in Mexico City. Kyler Murray tears his ACL. Steve Keim takes a leave of absence for a quote-unquote health-related issue. And now Sean Kugler fighting back against the Cardinals. That has happened since late last February. Unbelievable. It's exhausting. There's nothing to do with the on-the-field product outside of Kyler Murray getting hurt.
Oh, yeah. They went 4-9. The offense is taking a tremendous step backwards.
Yes.
We don't even know, like, when Kyler Murray returns from his ACL, we saw his worst season to date at the pro level. Mm-hmm. It's you're hard-pressed to think of harsher times in looking back at this franchise since it moved to the desert. That's saying something. I mean, 2018 was brutal. They went 3-13 that year. They had a historically bad offense, scored just over 14 points.
But it was on the field. Everything was on the field.
Everything was on the field.
True.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And now it's not even staying on the field. It's bad headline after bad headline. And this international incident that happened in Mexico City, you couldn't even just keep it there. It's something that's going to linger on. This is going to go beyond this season, most likely. And the Arizona Cardinals, like the NFL's probably throwing their hands up and saying, "What the fuck, guys?"
But the reality on that is that it doesn't
be ambassadors
but it
here.
Doesn't have to linger though. I mean, you can wash. We talking about this thing doesn't have to linger.
You can fix it.
And I said, we asked this question earlier was, should we lose all the games this year and then focus on, next year in the draft and then going to get a top pick? Well, you're 4 and whatever right now, and you already know you're going to get a top pick, right? And if you don't win any more games, then you're getting a top pick.
Yeah.
Top 5, somewhere in there, no matter what. And I think the idea is I said that the problem would be if they decided that we're going to run all this trash back again. We're going to keep Kliff because we just extended him. We're going to bring Keim in after he comes to his medical issue, whatever it is, medical, health, whatever that leave of absence is he has to take for health purposes. The way you wash this thing, man, is that you have to start talking about the promising and changing the direction of what we're going, bringing promising pieces in to this team to try to recreate the magic that they had before when they went out in the offseason, early in the offseason, and start bringing some talented guys in to kind of change the mentality of this organization and where it was going. That would be helpful. I can say in my years when we were stinking it up, we were 4-12. That did not happen. They're bringing in new players and the new talent. We just kept running with what we had, and it wasn't good. So it would be very disappointing to me, to all of us here at PHNX, as well as the Cardinal Nation, Bird Gang, would just to watch these guys repeat the same thing.
I have a question for you guys. I brought it up to Bo earlier today, and I think it's worth asking. Everybody assumes Kliff Kingsbury is going to get fired. I assume that. I think all 3 of us feel like these are his final 4 games with this team. But what if he doesn't get fired? And where I'm going with this is this team, they have gone from what I thought a pretty promising landing spot for somebody like Sean Payton and Jim Harbaugh to a national embarrassment, right? To the point where it's run into the offseason, it's run into the front office. So if you're Michael Bidwell, even if you fire Steve Keim and you've got 2 internal candidates to promote from within, you don't have that on your coaching staff. You think there's a chance, Bo? I think it's growing every day that Kliff Kingsbury could potentially be brought back. I don't want to say as a lame duck, but just as a placeholder for this team based on the fact that if you're Michael Bidwell, even with Adrian Wilson and Quentin Harris at your disposal, you can't go and have a straight conversation with free agent head coaches saying, come to the Cardinals, be a part of what our all culture is. You may have to stick it out with Kingsbury another year just to clean this up.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy that it's gone below wwhere we thought rock bottom was, right? For this organization.
New every day.
We've seen now this would be the 4th head coaching search. You had BA and you lucked out into a pretty good coach there who won double digits 3 years in a row. And took this team to an NFC Championship game. Then you had the misstep with Wilkes, and then Kliff Kingsbury to now. Who's going to look at this and say, "Oh, there's a place where I want to be the head coach." Right? That you got an injured quarterback, and you've got a dysfunctional franchise. I mean, it's going to be tough for this organization to become appealing to legitimate head coaching candidates. So, yeah, I think that as far as maybe Kliff being a bridge to somebody else while you figure everything else out behind the scenes.
I think we may need to prepare ourselves.
But here's what I'll say about that is when because there's going to be a new general manager, unless it's Quentin Harris or Adrian Wilson who are already in that building, and we don't know their thoughts on Kliff Kingsbury. Kingsbury talked about it a little bit today that they have a good working relationship, the three of them. If you bring somebody in new from outside this organization, I would say that the odds are very favorable that they're not going to want to move forward with Kliff Kingsbury.
That's 100%.
We know that is so often. Do you bring in a GM, and if a head coach is not their guy, he's not long for that world that long. So,
but Quentin and Adrian have been with the Quentin Harris and Adrian Wilson. I'm guessing here would not turn down the Cards GM job. Adrian Wilson would take that job. We feel like, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so if Michael Bidwell's like, A-Dub, you're in charge, but you got to keep Kliff. He's keeping Kliff Kingsbury. I do think that there is an increased chance that
I like that from Jason. By
what
the
does
way.
he say?
He's saying if Kliff somehow weasels his way into another season,
I don't even think it's weaseling. I think it's Michael Bidwell saying we gotta figure this out, and it's beyond on the field with Kliff Kingsbury. We got an organizational issue, and it's broken, and we got to fix. We got some messes we got to clean up. And I do think there's some respect for Kliff Kingsbury. Say what you want about him. Has he been good this year? Of course not. But he's up there every day taking grenades and arrows for this franchise. He's the consummate professional. You don't see him fucking around off the field. That means something. Now, is he getting it done on Sundays? No. And is this a winning league where you have to produce? Absolutely. But man, if I'm Michael Bidwell, like I just we're reaching for stuff right now. Like you have to just not be a disaster to keep your role.
We got a super chat here from Garvey Craigs asking, what prospects are we looking at? Are we talking draft already? We don't know who's going to be making the selection, but there's a whole lot that falls. If it's like we said, we don't think it's going to be Keim, so I think we can start to, look forward to the draft. We're not going to see some redshirt years any longer, and it's going to be a top 10 pick, that's for sure. So we're going to have a full off season's worth of draft coverage. There's no doubt about it. So just buckle up.
Our guy in the chat, where there's a Will, there's an Anderson. I like that. I can't remember who put that in there, but that's good stuff. Good stuff on DraftKings now as we continue the conversation. Right now, Dabble, the Arizona Cardinals are a 1.5-point underdog, which is crazy. It means they'd be a home favorite against the Denver Broncos. You can gamble on that. Do it at your own accord at DraftKings. Ton of other quality games this weekend. Lions, Jets, Bengals. They've got the Browns and the Ravens this weekend. Tennessee Chargers is another good one. Again, dabble on DraftKings. All you got to do, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use that promo code PHNX. All you got to do is place a $5 bet on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do on DraftKings with promo code PHNX. So again, this is the money line bet. So if you're new to DraftKings, number one, welcome. Use promo code PHNX. You don't have to bet the spread. So the Houston Texans play the Kansas City Chiefs this week. Good chance the Kansas City Chiefs win that game. All you got to do is place a $5 money line bet on the Chiefs. If they win, boom, you get $150 in free bets instantly. But you have to use the promo code PHNX. You have to do it on DraftKings. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. My DraftKings pick of the week, gentlemen. I like the Steelers money line as a underdog with our guys, Steve Wilkes and the Carolina Panthers. Give me Mike Tomlin. Taking it down, plus 130, Bo, on DraftKings.
I've already got a better investment, our best reinvestment of that $150. It's for a great time. And that's hanging out with the PHNX crew at the PHNX Tea Party, presented by our friends over at Four Peaks. It's at Dobson Ranch Golf Course. We were just hanging out there. We had our Secret Santa party. I was the Secret Santa to our producer, Leah. She said it was the greatest gift she'd ever received in her entire life. And I was like, wow, I am.
Lee, are you on the mic right now? Can you give us a breakdown of exactly what went down at the Secret Santa party.
So what happened is our entire staff showed up. We all exchanged gifts, and there were 2 people who did not receive gifts, me and Gerald. And who wasn't there? Johnny and Bo. So by process of elimination, we determined Johnny and Bo must have us. So then Johnny shows up next, hands his gift to Gerald, and I'm the only person at the party without my gift. And Bo strolls in 90 minutes later.
Like a hero.
And I got my gift. It
Had
wasn't
that Sephora gift card. Bam!
and M&M's my favorite, so he nailed it.
With the perfect gift for the perfect Christmas party that we had at Dobson Ranch, and it's going to be an unbelievable time hanging out with the PHNX crew at the PHNX Tea Party presented by Four Peaks. We're renting out of the entire driving range. It puts Topgolf to shame.
It does.
It does. You go out there, you're playing games, and you got that big drive energy, the PHNX crew and their fellow diehards, a night of golf, food and drinks, contests, prizes, and more. PHNX Suns crew, they're going to be hosting their watch party for the Suns T-Wolves, and Four Peaks will be out there providing beer samples and swag. Check the link in the description. Reserve your spot right now. And for diehards, you can check the Discord for your special link where you'll receive and save 20% off on this awesome event. I mean, let's just recap real quick. $45 per person, $36 for diehards, $160 per foursome, $120 for diehards, unlimited range balls. You get your set of rental clubs. You got the jumbo screens for the Suns T-Wolves game, 1 hour free on the range, golf balls, everything you want at Dobson Ranch, mini games including cornhole and pickleball. Smoke all of you there, and ping pong as well. Contest entries including longest drive, putting challenges, highest scores, eaters for hot chocolate. Frank, you going to be out there? You going to be winning the long drive competition?
No, I'm not. Well, I can hit the ball pretty good, but not the long drive. I'll be there, but not the long drive.
All right.
And me and the unit, Chick did the long ball, but I don't have a long ball. I just hit it straight.
Right. I don't believe that at all. I don't
guarantee
believe that at all.
It 30 yards past us.
I hit it pretty good, man. Look, you guys got to show up. It's going to be a great competition. A lot of fun. Come out and meet a bunch of the people, man. Let's sign some autographs. Have a great time.
Listen, the Cardinals we're not having any fun with the Cardinals, so come hang out with us and we'll make things fun for you. We're continuing the conversation here.
I mean, by that event, Black Monday will have come and gone.
Oh, that's Christmas 2.0,
and
baby.
We're talking about probably a new regime here.
Probably or certainly. People want certainly. The DraftKings didn't have odds on Kliff Kingsbury. Probably for a reason.
He's off the board, huh?
He's off the board. Actually, they don't have odds for future head coaches being fired. DraftKings, they got some class. I'm going to tell you. DraftKings is great. All right, so everybody's upset because of the fact that this could sabotage an opportunity to get a quality head coach. Bo, you still don't feel that way, though. You have told me many, many times that you feel like this franchise, if they gut what needs to be gutted, and Michael Bidwell says, Adrian Wilson, Quentin Harris, you go out, you do the recruiting for head coaches. I'll come in when necessary. I'll pay what market value is. They could get somebody of note. Do you still believe that?
Yeah, I still think that if a head coach has any sense that they're going to look at Kyler Murray's injury, they're not going to be turned off by it. I mean, if anything, you're either a Kyler guy or you're not. And if that head coach thinks that he's the franchise caliber quarterback that was signed to this mega million extension, that he has a lot to work with there. He's got a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback with a ceiling of MVP. Right, that can lead a team even after a down season. So if Sean Payton, who's talked very highly of Kyler Murray before, he's not going to be turned off by a surgery that's become in rehab that's become so routine in the NFL these days.
Right.
It's not 1999. An ACL injury is not ending your career any longer. It's something that is going to keep you on the shelf 9 to 12 months, maybe 16 at the longest. And if you're overcautious with Kyler, he misses half the season next year. And if you're a head coach and you want to come in and it's a sticking point and you say, I don't want to come because of Kyler Murray, but I'm willing to talk with you, that's absurd because then you would have to get rid of Kyler Murray's contract and there would be so much dead money that it would just it would torpedo your ability to build a roster. You're sunk first season anyway. So why not be patient and then bring back your quarterback, your franchise quarterback, develop him where that development was stunted this year. And get him back on track.
And I also think, too, if you're Michael Bidwell, you're going to need to go into these negotiations with whomever you hire, GM or head coach, and say, I'm going to add an extra year of guaranteed money on your deal because of the fact that you may not have Kyler Murray till October next year. So I can't expect you. I hope that you can go out and be competitive. like Brian Dable did with a shit roster and Daniel Jones. But if that's not realistic as you're implementing your messaging, as much as we want to see postseason football next year, it has to be more about development. It has to be more about ingratiating and developing a culture, not just how many games are we going to win in 2023. Like, of course, we want playoffs here. We were promised that this year. And look, they're going to have a top 5 to 7 draft pick. Next year, it needs to be about changing the culture.
It definitely does. Like I feel like we've lost that here.
Yeah.
Bruce had something that was here, man, and it was the guys were professional. They went to work. You know, they were together. They had a lot of camaraderie in a lot of ways with that team. I don't see that necessarily with this group of guys. And there's just a bunch of rifts that you can kind of go back over the last 4 years with this team. I would say someone coming here, this is what I look at. Now, when you look at the locker room, you got to say we're going to lose Pugh, Hudson, JJ's up. We got to look what we're going to do with JJ, what we're going to do with D-Hop. And those are like your, then JC. Well, we know we got JC here. We got to get Zach Ertz back. And so you start looking at the veterans that's in the locker room. But we have a bunch of young players, man, in position that have to prove themselves and become what you want to be. That doesn't get it done in the NFL. You got to go out and get some guys that you can bring in, be able to be flexible with your salary cap, have some guys that want to be here. The only way that will happen is you have to have new leadership. And guys have to believe in the leadership that you're bringing here. If you're going to talk about just bringing in a Sean Payton for the name's sake, then you will get that. He would automatically get warrant the expectation of what a coach can do. When he shows up, I got 8 to 9 wins by myself.
Yep.
Just on play calling alone, getting the organization squared away, getting guys in fit and shape and ready to play 4 quarters of football. That has been kind of the letdown in the Kliff situation because it's not like they're getting blown out, in his 4 years here as a head coach for the most part. And that's no reflection, that's no reflection of him or Vance in that regards. It's just that we might have met a team that week that just was rolling, John, and they smoked us. But I say you got to have leadership. Yeah. And good leadership will change the culture. Being worried about Kyler is not a concern of mine. Honestly, I think if you get a guy in here early, and we're talking about Black Monday, that to me, I think, man, if you get a guy in right after the season, you get the guys believing in what you're bringing, you automatically open up the idea for free agency, and then you create that desire for players that want to be here to come here. And that will change and make the difference in where we want to go next year. And the fan base. Look, you talk about how many wins we got at home with Kliff over the last 4, and that in itself is just pathetic.
And you make a great point, too. It's like Kyler Murray, as great as he is, could not save this team from being 4-8 when he got hurt, Bo. Yeah. And so you're not rushing Kyler Murray back to try to save 2023 because it's the difference between the playoffs. Now, do I think the Cardinals are a playoff team if you've got Kyler Murray humming and the skill player? Of course. But, like, you're stripping this down, or at least you should, down to the studs, right? You're building a new house. You're not taking duct tape over, your old, 2-story home and the windows are falling off and there's no latch on the door. You got to gut it. You got to get the bulldozer out. You put Kyler Murray off to the side. You let him get healthy. And by the time he comes back, he can move in. It's fully furnished. It looks fantastic. But you rush him back for a season that may or may not matter in the grand scheme of things. It matters to us. Yeah. It matters to developing the culture. But it's like you're not risking Kyler Murray's health long term to rush him back for September 11th, 12th, 13th, whatever it is. So I'm very much of the mindset that if Kyler Murray's going to get hurt, this is the time to get hurt in this phase of where the Cardinals are. The Cardinals do not have a Super Bowl caliber roster. Breaking news, right? They have to shed a bunch of money. They've got overpriced veterans. They're in a transition period. So Kyler Murray is not the missing. Their roster doesn't look like San Francisco, where they're literally a quarterback away.
Right. I mean, right. You're Andy Dufresne. You're crawling through the 300 yards of shit right now.
Correct.
Trying to get out, escape Shawshank.
Yeah.
But on the other side, it's the rain's going to wash you, of all that crap, and you're going to be out of the clink for good, right? You've escaped, and you're going to go meet Morgan Freeman down in Mexico, and your life's going to be awesome.
It is going to be great.
But you still have to crawl through a bunch of shit. But now here's the thing: you get a head start. Right? You get a head start, and then also you don't have the crutch of Kyler Murray any longer, because I think this organization used it this season as far as how it approached roster building. And you have to build this team around Kyler Murray, not it's Kyler Murray and then, everybody else. So that's something that I think is, we talk blessing in disguise here, but you get a head start on, hitting the hard reset button on this organization. And it's Kyler Murray, and then you figure out who's left, who are going to be the pieces that you move forward with. When you talk about the studs, Johnny, who are the studs of this organization?
That's such a good question, and that brings us to one of the questions in the chat. Do you trade DeAndre Hopkins? And DeAndre Hopkins is a saint. He's one of the greatest things that's happened with this franchise during the Steve Keim era. He's also on the hook next year. Let me pull this up. This is overthecap.com. $30 million cap hit next year. He's over 30 for a team that, they should have more than enough weapons to contend with or without him. I think that you only trade DeAndre Hopkins in the right circumstance where you could bring back a premium draft pick, first or second round pick. I am not doing what Dallas did with Amari Cooper, just giving him away for a fifth, and they struggled without him to the point where they're bringing in T.Y. Hilton and they're signing Odell Beckham. You can't compound a problem. Like, when push comes to shove, you keep D-Hop around unless somebody blows you away with an offer. But to your original question, Bo, what does the studs look like? The studs look like, I think, the last two draft classes, right? The guys who make no money. I think Kyler Murray's part of that group. I think Abuda Baker's part of that group. And then everybody else is on watch, depending on who the new GM is, who the new head coach is. Do you fit the culture? Do you fit the scheme right? Because, again, we fall in love with players, fall in like with players. Because we love this team. This team's 4-8, 4-9 now. This team potentially, and we're going to preview this. There's actually a game this weekend against the Denver Broncos. What? Shield your eyes. 4-10 potentially after this weekend. They need better players. And how do you do that? You have to accumulate draft picks and you have to accumulate resources. So that's a conversation that we're going to go through in depth this offseason. It'll be a fun one. We want to include all of you over the course of the offseason. But what else is fun? We can include you guys in Underdog Fantasy right now. Underdog Fantasy is our favorite fantasy football app. Bo and I are ready to punt on year-long fantasy. Get it up out of here. We're ready to do daily fantasy, and we wanted to do it with you. Come and join us using that promo code PHNX. You get a deposit match up to $100. What the hell? That's one of the best deals that we have here at PHNX. And again, the NFL season may be close to ending, but it doesn't end there with Underdog Fantasy. You can gamble, wager on the NBA. You can choose up to 6 players, no positional limits. You want to take all center, shooting guards, what have you. Do it. You can draft against your friends. I took the L to Saul Bookman and Shane Diefenbach the other day. I'm not happy about it, but I live to see another day. Just like DraftKings, Underdog Fantasy, I can dabble the next flipping day and start to wager. Again, use that promo code PHNX. Match it $100. It's so easy. All you got to do is go to UnderdogFantasy.com, download the app, sign up with promo code PHNX, get your free hundy, Bo.
I hit the hard reset button on our interior design at our house.
Mm-hmm.
It was
you did or your wife
It was
did?
lacking. Well, let's be honest here. I did. No, my wife did, and we needed to make things look better, especially as the holiday season. We're going to host some family, some friends. We wanted our living room, our dining room to look its best, and the way we did that, we got our friends over at More Furniture. We got in their holiday clearance deal going on. It's happening at More Furniture. You can save up to 50% off while pimping out your pad. Do it with More Furniture, MOR, furniture.com. Save yourself up to 50% off at More Furniture.
These assholes, Frank, the other day on the show said that I have a waterbed in my house and a futon.
Wow, you're going to say that after the offensive thing you said to Shane?
What did I say?
About the waterbed?
So producer Leah, who dates Shane Diefenbach, babysits my kids. I'm married 10 years, and she hasn't seen the waterbed because we don't own one. So you had to bring that up. Get the hell out of here.
That's
this day, funny. Man. What a day. What a week. What a team. A team that plays the Denver Broncos this weekend. Full transparency. This was one of our games of the year when the schedule came out. Mm-hmm. Our friends and family over at DNVR. Hot damn, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray. No, you get neither of them. This team has 3 wins. The Cardinals have 4. It's a combined 7 wins. It's a banger. It's prediction time. Bo Brock, what do you got this Sunday?
I got this team not winning a game the rest of the year. This was probably their only winnable game, and we've got the Denver Broncos offense led by Brett Rippon, the nephew of Mark Rippon, the Super Bowl hero. I got the Broncos winning this one 24-12. Jerry Jeudy's playing at a high level, even though he got fined quite a bit of money today for his actions last week. But I don't think the Cardinals can keep up with them with their offense going against the second-ranked defense in the NFL. Kind of a no-fly zone. Patrick Surtain, he's playing at a high level. My players of the game here, following in a loss, 24-12. I got James Conner. He's going to stay hot on the ground. I think the Cardinals can continue to run the ball decently. And then I'm going chalk on the defensive side of the football because there's not a whole lot. And there's no Zach Allen probably for the next couple of weeks. He just had hand surgery. You've got a couple key guys out in the defensive secondary. I think J.J. Watt can have a good defensive game, maybe get another sack, continue to lead this team. And then your unsung hero, Josh Jones has done a fine job filling in for DJ Humphries. I think he's a piece that you can move forward with at a tackle position for the Arizona Cardinals, and he doesn't get a whole lot of flowers these days. I'm going to give him his flowers in this game that we barely previewed on a preview day.
Yeah, he's going to help out for those 12 points,
Mm-hmm.
Frank Sanders. What do you like come Sunday?
Look, I like fits like a glove. My man, I like that statement right there. Cardinal by 3. I'm rocking with you on that. Look, it's an ugly moment right now for both teams, but you still got to show up and play. The heart of a champion is James Conner, without a doubt. He will not quit. He's going to give you everything he's got. What I do know about this time and this time of season when players are still trying to figure, they got a losing season. They're going home after the end of the game, after the end of the year. But the reality of it is that certain leaders get guys to come out and still play.
That's true.
Guys still get paid to play. It's a job. It's not a game. This is a job for a lot of guys. This is a job. And the guys got to show up and come to work. I'm taking JC. He's my stud on the offense. On defense, I'm going Myjai Sanders. I think he's reaped the benefits, man, of getting some time to go in there and play. He's kind of figuring himself out, what he can do in the NFL. Does the college move still work? No. You got J.J. Watt, you got Zach Allen, you got your boy, you got J.Y.D. over there teaching some stuff, and you should be watching film on other players so you can kind of figure your game out. I think Myjai has done that. I think he's kind of figured a couple things out that makes him better at his job. But here's my guy, my unsung hero is going to be Matt the lone ball striker Prater. He might hit his first 60-yarder over in Mile High Stadium. I think he has it in him. Look, it might be ugly, but a dub is a dub, and I'll take it. 13-10 is mine. I'm taking the Cardinals.
Yeah, we want to see them win. We want to see them do well because there's going to be a lot of players on this team that will relish a W, especially those who are going to be fortunate enough to be on the team next year. I don't think it happens, though. I'm with Bo Brock. Frank Sanders is the optimist of the group. I've been scorned too many times by this team, both in my heart and my wallet. Here are my predictions for Sunday, 24-10. I think it's going to be a stinker. And again, we put these predictions in here more or less when Russell Wilson was going to play. Does it even really matter, though? Hollywood Brown, to me, is going to have a good day. Patrick Surtain on D-Hop won't completely blanket him, but I think Hollywood Brown has a nice rapport with first-team reps all week with Colt McCoy. I think that relationship blossoms. I mean, Hollywood Brown, he's fighting for a job. I mean, you think about they haven't picked up his fifth-year option, but they will, but that's Steve Keim. So when will that happen? Who knows? Cameron Thomas, I'll double down with Frank. Play Cameron Thomas and Myjai Sanders the whole game. Mm-hmm. I love you, Marcus Golden. You're not the same player. It's over. And Dennis Gardeck, that was an egregious contract. Get it away. Both of those players should play, and we'll see what we have with them.
Yep.
How about our guy, Robbie Anderson? You know what? He's something. He certainly is a professional football player, old number 81. He had a one-handed catch last week, and Kliff Kingsbury looked like he was going to throw up talking to him after the game last week, but Robbie felt good about himself, so I feel good about picking Robbie, have a couple splash plays. I don't know if I'll go as far as unsung, but, at the end of the day, it's all about, we're having fun, right? It's all about having a good time with the Redbirds.
Yeah, you hope that the Cardinals offense can make some big plays, and it makes the game more exciting than I think we're dressing it up right now. I mean, that's what you hope for the rest of the way out. You're not necessarily rooting for wins from this team, but you're hoping to see signs of life that we've been searching for this entire season. So if we can get that, that'd be huge.
I haven't. This is my first 4 peaks, but it's fantastic. Wow's Light Citrus Ale. Listen, my man, we thought we were going to have Isaiah Simmons today, and we don't have Isaiah Simmons, but we got Frank Sanders, and we've got, goodness, this team consistently staying and hanging in the news cycle for all the wrong reasons. So there's our official predictions ahead of Sunday's banger of a game at Mile High Stadium, the 4-9 Arizona Cardinals versus the 3-10 Denver Broncos. Just the Super Bowl preview. Everybody thought we were going to get.
McCoy v. Rippin.
Rip it up, Rippin. Matthew Burgess, I want Hollywood back next year. I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah.
Because again, Hopkins has the big cap hit. Hollywood's productive when he plays. Sly, I got a promotion at work. I credit PHNX as productivity soared when I started watching it earlier this year. Tremendous. Tremendous news.
Hollywood leaves or stays if they don't pick it up either way. He leaves because no Kyler, or Kyler's not here. But watching the offense, if you stay in this offense with Kliff, you will not see 1,000-yard season. Like it's just hard to vantage in my mind to see 1,000-yard season right now with what's going on with Kliff and the offense and what they're doing with these guys. Like, these little dump screens and what's taking place. It's a shame to think that way as a receiver in the NFL with 17 weeks. Mm-hmm. To think that you might not see 1,000-yard receiver, that to me blows my mind. And when D-Hop came back, we had to throw the ball to him at least 15 targets for him even to catch up to do what he needs to do. So that to me, if I'm Hollywood, I'm taking a strong look at what's taking place with this offense. The same thing he had to make a decision on when he left Baltimore. He had to make the same decision. How far will they use his talent to put him at and to get him in the next level of echelons of receivers, making that $14 to $20 million deals? You
don't think he wants to play with Kyler?
I think he does, but I think the reality of it is that if you're sitting in a system that doesn't find a way to get you the ball, then why are you here? Like, that's just hard to swallow, man. It has nothing to do with the quarterback. If your quarterback's one guy, he's my buddy, but we got three guys that got to finally get the ball to. That's Zach Ertz and D-Hops. And so in my mind, watching him, I just think that the system doesn't necessarily exploit and brings the best out of him the way it should. And again, that's just where it's at right now.
Yeah, and I'll correct an earlier point. They did pick up his fifth-year option, but he signed through next year, which we all knew.
Right.
Okay. But is he going to get a long-term deal? It's a contract year next year for him. And I'm with everybody in the chat. Like, you don't trade away a first-round pick, then get rid of him. But, like, is he part of his long-term plans? And he was the guy in Baltimore, albeit in a run-heavy offense. But this group of skill players, they're just too small.
It's really going to be interesting because of what we saw this past offseason and how they figure out the franchise tag too, where it's based off the top 5 paid players at their position. And wide receiver took a huge jump, especially average, right? When you see the number.
Tremendous.
So I don't know if franchise tagging Hollywood becomes an option either. If you're looking at him in the 2024 offseason. I mean, that's something, if they can get him in now, coming off his first major injury, the foot injury that he suffered that kept him on the IR for 5 weeks. Does that take his number down? Can you find maybe a middle ground and get a team friendlier deal, or does he bet on himself this next season and try to get a better deal? But I think, wasn't he on pace for like 1,200 yards and 6 touchdowns?
Yeah, but he also had an extreme speeding arrest that I couldn't put in my tweet earlier.
That's young. That's just young.
Well, I remember that conversation we had.
Yeah, it was just young. That's just young in the desert, and it's dark nights.
Well, I agree with you. That's a reflection of this leadership too.
We've all been candidates for extreme speeding before, well, except for you. You're lame.
Johnny.
But I mean, I've never gone 126.
Oh, I'm lame because I follow the rules of the road. Thank you. Hello.
Johnny's driving 65.
Oldsmobile with his blinker on his entire way back to Maricopa.
I hate this show.
This is pathetic, Johnny.
I think here's what
it's pathetic.
That they had their country club training camp and he left a strong organization in Baltimore. He's like, hot damn, it's gorgeous out. I'm just gonna cruise into work late. I'm going to go 150, and I'm going to get arrested.
The Cardinals would be foolish, man, not to sign him and lock him in, honestly, because you're probably losing on Rondale Moore right now. You went out and got a guy that can literally
not probably.
Well, I mean, here's the Cardinal narrative. The Cardinals, Rondale Moore sucked, so they traded him and they let him go, and he went to, like, in Green Bay, he's 1,500 yards with 16 touchdowns, and we're sitting here like, what the? We were on our team now. What were you that then, Rondale Moore? That happens. We've seen that picture. We critics of it across the board when it comes to the Cardinals, and unfortunately, that is an atmosphere situation in the organization where guys leave and go off and be better than they were when they were here. That's sad. I will say though, they've already seen Rondale. They've already seen Hollywood Brown. You need to lock guys in for other guys to believe in the organization that wants to come here. If you're a backup quarterback and you got potentially still D-Hop, so you still got Hollywood Brown, and you got Zach Ertz, you got Trey McBride, you know what you have in these guys, so you got players. You want to be on a team with ballers. Do you want to be sitting in Jacksonville trying to figure out who are ballers, or you want to be in Carolina trying to figure out how to get out of there? Like those are organizations players are trying to leave. And to me, in my mindset, man, I would love to be here thinking I got Kyler, but the system right now, as a former player, I'm not necessarily saying I think I would want to be here because we don't see enough out of it. I just don't see enough out of the system to make me want to be here as a wide receiver. And that's unfortunate, considering it's supposed to be the air raid.
Yeah. I mean, look, Rondale Moore, his biggest key is getting on the football field.
Yep.
It's not a system thing. It's not, is he a bust when he's healthy? It's just he hasn't been healthy since his freshman year at Purdue. What was that, 2018? I mean, we're almost at half a decade worth of years where we haven't seen a healthy Rondale Moore. I mean, what is it, Johnny? What's the old cliche? Hurt players stay hurt?
Yeah, hurt in college, hurt in the pros. Rondale's going to be a great graduate assistant at Purdue in a couple of years.
It's hurt people.
Hurt people.
Yeah, but not that. Where do you get that from?
But we were
Rondale's hurting. He's hurting me.
How about this stat?
And my fantasy team and my Arizona Cardinals.
How about this stat? We never saw one game where it was Kyler Murray, Rondale Moore, Hollywood Brown, and DeAndre Hopkins on the field at the same time. Not one single game this entire season.
Wait a minute.
Did we see that? Because DeAndre Hopkins was suspended the first 6 games.
Yep.
Hollywood Brown got injured the week before that, his foot. And then before Hollywood Brown came back, Rondale Moore injured his groin.
First play.
First or second play, yeah.
First play. Caught a little end around, and he was down. It was a wrap. Second play.
In Mexico City.
Yeah.
And Hollywood Brown was not active that game. He was active the next game.
I like everything about Rondale, what he brings to the table when he's healthy. And again, I don't think our system featured a kid that could have been pretty spectacular. So just a little bit.
This team's too small. Your receivers are too small. Like, Kyler is what he is, and he can't change that. And I've seen Kyler be a Pro Bowl quarterback. Get some bigger players. They're just too little.
Do you think about it when we look at the future of Hollywood Brown, when we look at the future of Rondale Moore, is their biggest problem going to be that the GM isn't Steve Keim? He wasn't the guy
I think
that pulled off the deal, because everybody's saying, well, we traded a first for Hollywood Brown, and he came back with a third. But the GM's like, well, I didn't make that deal. I'm trying to make the best.
It's the reason Andy Isabella stuck around for almost 4+ years was Steve Keim was the GM. If Steve Keim had been moved off of, Isabella would have been gone much earlier. If we find out that they hire an external GM, because I always think there's a big caveat, because A-Dub, Quentin Harris, they may have had a hand in selecting or helping to select a Rondale Moore and company. And they may have gone to bat with them in the scouting process. A-Dub is more pro personnel, so I would think he's got some insight on Hollywood Brown. But if they hire Joe Blow from whatever organization, he comes in here and he says, wait a minute, this isn't a part of what me and my new head coach want to do. You got to fit to my strategy, my culture, and if not, I'm shipping your ass out of town. So I'm telling you, like, if we feel like they're going to do a gut job, and we do with their front office and coaching staff, then it trickles down to the players.
It will.
Right now, there are very little players on this team that have a ton of money committed to them long term. Go overthecap.com. They can move off a bunch of overpriced veterans, and then it's like Kyler and D-Hop and Zach Ertz. It's the guys they signed last offseason, and that's about it. Everybody else is on notice. And I'll tell you right now, like, I know people think I'm crazy. Like, I would not be surprised if they eat some dead cap from some of the players they signed last offseason. Like, James Conner could easily be cut. I'm telling you, Zach Ertz, is Zach Ertz going to be ready for next season? He's going to be entering his mid-30s pretty soon. You've got Trey McBride. Kyler's the only one, because he's the quarterback. He's in his mid-20s, where, of course, you're not going to cut Kyler Murray. Everybody else, if you've got big money attached to you, you are not safe.
I don't know if Ertz gets cut necessarily, but as far as Conner, that's a position that you could replace James Conner with a very
cost-effective.
Yeah, very cost-effective replacement, whether you go in the draft or if you pick up somebody off the free agent market. I think that's somewhere where you wouldn't have to break the bank, and you could find somebody that is going to stay healthier and be able to be as productive as a guy like James Conner.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Got a ton of time to talk speculations, but this Sunday, check us out. Post-game show, halftime show. Got the full complement. We got a full deck. Frank Sanders, Bo Brock, Damian Anderson, myself. Listen, we only got 4 more of these. The Cardinals head to Denver to take on Brett Rippin, Nathaniel Hackett. Yeah, a lot of names. Those are certainly some names of some people that are going to be in the game on Sunday. Become a diehard. Go to gophnx.com. Get a membership for the year. You won't be sorry that you did. Cop a free hat and or shirt from the PHNX merchandise locker. You may not be too proud to wear your Cards gear right now. Wear some PHNX Cardinals gear instead, right? Take a beat, put down your jersey, put on a PHNX Cardinals t-shirt. We've got our Hollywood Hills sign atop Camelback Mountain. We've got our celebratory touchdown t-shirt. Again, all that is exclusive to you at the PHNX merchandise locker. Do not miss it. Do not miss us. We're back on Sunday, unless, with this team, you never do know. But until then, Frank Sanders, Bo Brock, I'm Johnny Venerable. Like and subscribe. Like this video. We'll see you Sunday.